Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. And Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Parudikacharya, Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Parudikacharya, Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnavini ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Grantharaj srimadbhagavatam ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So, this is one of those days when there's no verse written on the board. Apparently. Can you double check? Maybe he wrote it. Probably not. Okay. So today is Lalita Shashti. No, I have a book. It's just, yeah, you can read here. You have yours. What do you got? Nada? I got my phone. For the verse. You think so? Okay. Not there, huh? Nunam? Okay. Not text 8? Yeah, tomorrow. Okay, so you don't need anything. How about you, Glenn? You got anything on your phone? You got a device? All right, so we don't need, who needs it? Okay. So we'll leave a little time to read my little poem. I put the Lalitashtika into poetry many years ago. The refrain goes like this. To lovely Lalita, Shri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. So we'll do that later. Narayanam namaskritya, narang chaiva narottamam, deving saraswatim vyasam, tato jayamudiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the author, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. And Vrajmohan, Prabhu, can you close those doors and open those doors? Thank you. Nashta prayesha badreshu Nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yuttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, by my rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this fourth day of September 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 18, Pitu Maharaj Milks the Earth Planet, text number 8. Nunam tavidu dakshina mahikalina bhuyasa tatta yogena drishtena bhavana datamarhati. Okay, before we continue, Damodar Kumar, Prabhu, did I give you back your iPad? I think I did, right? Okay. This doesn't have it here. I just thought I didn't make a mistake. Nunam tavadu dakrichina mahikale nabuyasa tatta yogena drishtena bhavan adatum arhati. Nunam taviru dakshina mahikale nabuyasa tatra yogena drishtena bhavan adatam arhati. Good, Bala. Nunam tak vidudakshina mahikale nabuyasa yogena drishtena bhavan adatam arhati. Anyone else have anything? Nunam tak vidudakshina kalena bhuyasa hatra yogena drishtena. Prabhu, take it. For you. Nunam tak vidudakshina mahikale nabuyasa. Just read it along. Just read it. Chant with us. Bhavanadatam arhati. Glenn, go ahead. Nunam ta virudakshina mahikale nabuyasa tapta yogena drishtena bhavan adatam arhati. Ladies. Nunam ta virudakshina mahikale nabuyasa tapta yogena drishtena bhavan adatam arhati. Word by word meanings. Nunam, therefore. Taha, those. Virudaha, herbs and grains. Chinaha, deteriorated. Mai, within me. Kalena, in course of time. Bhuyasa, very much. Tatra, therefore. Yogena, by proper means. Drishtena, acknowledged. Bhavan, Your Majesty. Adatum, to take. Arhati, ought. Translation. So this is still the earth in the form of a cow speaking to Maharaj Prithu. Due to being stocked for a very long time, all the grain seeds within me have certainly deteriorated. Therefore, you should immediately arrange to take these seeds out by the standard process, which is recommended by the acharyas or shastras. Purport. When there is a scarcity of grain, the government should follow the methods prescribed in the shastra and approved by the acharyas. Thus there will be a sufficient production of grains, and food scarcity and famine can be checked. The Bhagavad Gita recommends that we perform yajna, sacrifices. By performance of yajna, sufficient clouds gather in the sky, and when there are sufficient clouds, there is also sufficient rainfall. In this way, agricultural matters are taken care of. When there is sufficient grain production, the general populace eats the grains, and animals like cows, goats, and other domestic animals eat the grasses and grains also. According to this arrangement, human beings should perform the sacrifices recommended in the Shastras, and if they do so, there will no longer be food scarcity. In the Kali Yuga, the only sacrifice recommended is Sankirtan Yajna. In this verse, there are two significant words, Yogena, by the approved method, and Drishtena, as exemplified by the former acharyas. One is mistaken if he thinks that by applying modern machines such as tractors, grains can be produced. If one goes to a desert and uses a tractor, there is still no possibility of producing grains. We may adopt various means, but it is essential to know that the planet Earth will stop producing grains if sacrifices are not performed. The earth has already explained that because non-devotees are enjoying the production of food, she has reserved food seeds for the performance of sacrifice. Now, of course, atheists will not believe in this spiritual method of producing grains, but whether they believe or not, the fact remains that we are not independent to produce grain by mechanical means. As far as the approved method is concerned, it is enjoined in the Shastras that intelligent men in this age will take to the Sankirtan movement, and by so doing they shall worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, whose bodily complexion is golden and who is always accompanied by his confidential devotees to preach this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. In its present condition, the world can only be saved by introducing this Sankirtan, this Krishna consciousness movement. As we have learned from the previous verse, one who is not in Krishna consciousness is considered a thief. Even though he may be materially very advanced, a thief cannot be placed in a comfortable position. A thief is a thief, and he is punishable. Because people are without Krishna consciousness, they have become thieves, and consequently they are being punished by the laws of material nature. No one can check this, not even by introducing so many relief funds and humanitarian institutions. Unless the people of the world take to Krishna consciousness, there will be a scarcity of food and much suffering. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandjana shalakaya chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So the earth, personified, is making her argument. Basically, she's trying to save her life. Maharaj Prithu has threatened her. You remember how it started? He's ready to shoot arrows because she's withholding the production which sustains all the people. Remember, they'd grown very thin. There was starvation in the land. And so Maharaj Prithu is an ideal king. He feels responsible. It's his duty to see that things are going on, that everyone is engaged in their occupational duties, and that prosperity is reigning. And the ideal has already been described earlier in the first canto with Maharaj Yuddhistir, how when he reigned after the Mahabharata war, first of all, he was devastated on his own because of all of the slaughter that had taken place. You know, we read about these Akshahinis. What's the general count on the Akshahinis? Do you remember that? The military array. There's you know, hundreds and hundreds of elephants and horses and thousands of soldiers and so much infantry, and it's a huge military force, and there were many, many Akshauhinis that were brought to this battlefield, and they all were slain. So there was huge carnage. And Yudhishthira looked out on the field, and he was devastated. He said, "How am I? I may, you know, I'm going to hell for this, and I'll never get out." This is what he said. I don't know when I'm going to ever get relieved from these sins. He felt he had performed this sin. Even though, as we know, Krishna had arranged the battle, it was his desire. The whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken because, in order to get Arjuna to fight, because it was Krishna's desire that Yudhishthira would come to the throne, that the demons wouldn't rule, and in other words, yada yada hi dharmasya, because adharma had become prominent. But in spite of all that, Yudhishthira just felt terrible. And so, really, what happened was that Bhishma Dev was lying on the battlefield, pierced through with arrows, but because he had this empowerment from his father, blessing, he could keep his soul in his body as long as he wanted. Until he wanted to die, he wasn't going to die. So that was very valuable there, because Krishna came, you know, and was there at his so I'm going to say bedside, but you understand what I mean. And Yudhishthira was able to come, and Bhishma Dev gave so many instructions to Yudhishthira. He consoled him. He told him how, you know, it was all right and proper that it happened, and instructed him in so many details of how to administer. This is all in the Mahabharata. So after all of that, then we hear about the reign of Yuddhistir. Just a few verses, but they're really incredible. One of the ones, which I should know by heart, but I've forgotten. But it's famous how during the reign of Yuddhistir, the rains came just at the right time and in the right amount. People were prospering. The cows were so jubilant that when they walked, they were pouring their milk on the ground. You know, this goes on in Goloka Vrindavan all the time. It's described in the Brahma Samhita. But it's a sign of great prosperity. When the cows are happy, when the earth is producing, the demigods are all cooperating, not too much rain, not to this. And the people were blissful. Just like when Ram was in charge. You learned Ramchandra, that's, right? This is the thing, Ram Raja. We try to get Ram Raja. So just the opposite had happened when Vena was in charge. And you know, his father just left because his son was incorrigible. And then that left no one, so then all the dacoits and the thieves come out. Oh, now's our chance, you know. So the Brahmins felt, we have to put Vena on the throne. Maybe he'll grow into the job, just like they felt the present guy would grow into the job. But he didn't. He became like a demon, you know. And so the Brahmins eventually killed him with high-sounding words, with some kind of vibration, tantra. And so then what? You know, again they left, okay, our job is finished. No, 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 wait a minute. Now, you know, again there's no leader. So they did another mystic process where they did this churning of the body, and one person who embodied all of the sins came out, and they exiled him. And then keep churning the arms, and Prithu and his wife Archie came out. Like he's an expansion of Krishna. He's empowered, you know, but the way they speak of him is he's got all the powers of Krishna. But he's very powerful and good, and his wife Archie is the goddess of fortune. So then, but still, the earth had been reacting to all the previous leaders, and so she was restraining, and the people were suffering. So that's what this is all about. Now the earth is explaining what's happened, that she had to withhold the seeds because the grain was being used by non-devotees and demons. And so this was self-destructive. At the beginning of the 10th canto, Bhumi is distressed because there's too many demons on the earth. You know, and she goes to Brahma, goes to demigod Brahma, they go to the ocean of milk, and they learn that Krishna is about to come to remedy the situation. So that's what happened, and she's explaining why, you know, why she did what she did, and now she's giving the clue as to how it can be remedied. The seeds are no good anymore. Anyway, they've been, you know, they're spoiled. The expiration date is gone. So then, but we need seeds to plant in order to have grains and everything to grow. So there's going to be this whole milking that goes on in the next few verses, and bringing out all of these auspicious things. But in the meanwhile, she talks about the standard process, and Prabhupada takes the essence of this verse to be the importance of jagya, which is right out of the Bhagavad Gita. He's speaking, as he mentions here, from the Bhagavad Gita, how if people don't perform jagya, then there won't be proper rains and there won't be proper grains. In other words, just to eat, you need to perform jagya. What to speak of, to go back to Godhead, to advance spiritually. So he's referring to Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhava yagyad bhavati parjanya yagya karma samudbhava karma brahmam bravad vidhi brahma akshara samudbhava tasmat brahma I forget the last couple lines. But what he's saying there is it's a progression. In order to live, you need grains. Who can not deny it? Even if you're going to be a meat eater, you got to feed grains to the cows. Yeah. So grain is the key. Food grains, and vegetables and everything else, but food grains is the key. So annad bhavanti bhutani, that human beings and creatures in general live on grains. And in order to get grains, you need rain. Not just rain, you need a proper amount of rain at the proper time. I just read an article yesterday about the devastation that climate change is causing in agriculture in India. In India. They focused on one area, I forget where it was, they named it, but I don't know where it was. But it was an agricultural area for many, many years, and still is. But because now the monsoon is not as regular, sometimes it's too much, it doesn't come at the time, they just had a huge heat wave and hailstorm at the same time. How does that happen? Hailstorms, which they never had before. They had planted mango trees because the other crops weren't working. But mango trees are very delicate. The hailstorm will destroy the mango trees. So people who for generations had been, farmers, are finding it's impossible to sustain themselves. There was a whole economic analysis of the thing. Precisely because of the irregularity of the climate caused by greenhouse gases. So this is another aspect. Of course, it's not mentioned in the Bhagavatam, but all the disruption of all different systems in the climate. The oceans are a big thing. The earth itself, the land, planting monocrops. I think we discussed this idea of the genetically modified seeds, which is just obviously not going to work. People understand that. But the big business is more money involved in it, so that to make the money. The short-sightedness, the demons. You read the 16th chapter. We really have to. There was once an article. Jayawada, I don't know if he was even a sannyasi at the time. He wrote it in the 70s. The demons amongst us, and it was based on the 16th chapter. And he showed how those qualities that are described there. So much wealth do I have today. So much I'll have tomorrow, by doing, and of course the big demon, I'll kill this enemy. You think of the mafia or something, make this. But the big time financiers, investing here, pulling money out of there, buying a business. There used to be something called Antitrust Laws. If you study American history, in the early part of the last century, there were these big businesses starting up. You had the railroads owned by Carnegie. You had the oil all being bought up by Rockefeller, and they get in the Rockefeller dynasty, and they get monopolies, and then they jack up the price, and you have to have the railroads. It's predatory. So there were actually laws provided. No, you can't have this. They broke up. I remember in the 80s, they broke up what is known now as AT&T. It was known as Bell Telephone. They had all the telephones in the country, and they were gouging people. It used to call 1 minute, a long distance phone call was $3.50. Nowadays, there's no long distance. Everybody's on the cell phones. But you can imagine $3.50 per minute. It sounds crazy, huh? That's what people were paying. No, better yet, people weren't talking on the phone as much. But anyway, so they broke those up, because there was a sense, so this is not good for the people in general. So those antitrust laws have kind of gone by the wayside. Now, I keep track of this, I don't read it all day, obviously, but there are more and more conglomeration of huge companies. Everyone knows about the tech companies, Facebook and Google and Apple and all these things. Billions, they have multi-billions of dollars. Talking about holding the grain and not selling it. They have literally like over $100 billion that's just sitting in a foreign country, so that it's not taxed, you see, and that who knows what they're going to use it for. You know what I mean? It's criminal. So this is exactly what's being spoken of here. If you just use your intelligence, you see when the demons, they use whatever facility is available to increase their wealth. Lying, cheating, buying politicians, destroying whole communities, whole countries. America has been hollowed out because now they realize they can get much cheaper labor in China than they can get here. So why should we pay $30 an hour to build cars? Yeah, they used to do that in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. Because of the unions. And they'll build the cars in Vietnam or China and pay $2 an hour for this labor. They'll make more money. What they don't realize is that the very guys who are supposed to buy the cars are now on welfare because you're not, anyway, the whole thing is crazy. And the point is that this is exactly what the mode of ignorance and passion does. What's the immediate profit? The heck with the long range. You see? And that's what's happened here. Is that Vena and then the dacoits and everyone, they're misapplying or they're misusing the facilities of the earth, the wealth of the earth. And so the earth is withholding them, and that's happening every day now. We see it. Whether it's the oceans or the earth itself, or you have these hurricanes, weather, extreme weather phenomena. It's all Mother Earth, nature, who is punishing the people for all their sinful reactions. So what is the remedy? The remedy is jagya. And where do we find jagya? Jagya is born of your prescribed duties. This is straight from Bhagavad Gita. In other words, each part of society, member of society, has a certain prescribed jagyas that are proper for them to perform. And some are good for everybody, like Sankirtan jagya. There's no restriction. But remember this key verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Yagyartar kamanonyata lokayam karma bandhana. That a basic principle, that's self-interest, is we should try to diminish our unhappiness as much as possible and increase our happiness. Right? That's just a principle of life, not even human beings. Any ant, they're crawling and you just give them a little, you scare them a little bit, and right away it's like, oh my God, my life is in danger. And so they turn around, or they may be on a mission coming this way. They know somehow that there's sugar way over there in the kitchen. So they're this way, you put your hand in it, so then they'll say, okay, I got to avoid that. They'll go around, right? In other words, this is basic increasing the happiness, getting to the sugar, and decreasing the unhappiness, being squished. That's very rudimentary, but that's there in every species. Human beings, it's much more sophisticated and so-called advanced, but the same principle is there. So what does the preaching begin with? Prabhupada, any lecture practically, which he gave thousands of to general audiences or just devotees in general who were a few steps away from being out there, try to understand what the real problems of life are. Birth, old age, disease, and death. You can't get away from them. Everybody has to face these. If you're not doing something to mitigate these, or you're not inquiring if these are inevitable, or if you're not inquiring, who am I? Is there a way of solving these problems permanently? This is such a benighted culture that it doesn't even come up. You have the school, I went through 12 grades of, K to 12 in 1950s and 60s. That question never came up. It was all, here's the history lesson, here's this, here's geography, there's little arithmetic, like that. It's criminal, really. So that question is answered in, Bhagavad Gita in the first few chapters. First chapter is you're not the body, you're spirit soul. If you don't understand that, then everything you do will ultimately be a failure. Whatever plans you have for happiness in this world, success, name, fame, family, all that, it's all just very fleeting, and eventually you lose it all, you're completely disappointed, death is coming, oh my God, and you don't know where you're going. But you're going somewhere. You don't die. That's right at the beginning. So this is the real nature of the problem, but it's totally covered in the modern education. So he comes to the point in the third chapter that we want to get disentangled from this world. We want to attain eternal life. We have confidence that it's there. But right now we're bound by thousands of attachments and fears related to this world and related to our body. So what can we do to overcome them? So what Krishna says in the third chapter, he talks about karma, activity, because that's where we live. We're always acting. How to act in such a way that you don't deepen your entanglement and you progressively disentangle yourself. That's really what, and Krishna consciousness does that. So this verse, yagyartat kamanonyata lokayam karma bandhana. So karma bandhana is what we're all suffering now. Every living entity. Most of them have absolutely no idea, human beings, what to speak of lower animals. From activities in the past, we're now in a body to try to fulfill those unfulfilled desires and suffer our bad karma and enjoy our good karma. And meanwhile, we're incurring new attachments and new karma in this life, and the beat just goes on, birth after birth. So this verse says that everything you do has to be done as a sacrifice for Vishnu or Krishna. Otherwise, whatever you do is furthering your bondage here. That's the meaning of the verse. Yagyartat, for the sake of Jagya. Another name of Vishnu is Jagya. We learned that in that purport. Karmano anyatra, otherwise that your activity will bind you. So, therefore, he says, Arjun, perform your duty as a sacrifice for Krishna, and this way we get free. So he's teaching us through Arjun. So this principle of sacrifice is central to progressive human life. In the 18th chapter, Krishna describes it as one of the essentials. What is it? Yajna, dana, tapa, and I think there's one more. What is it? And I think it's those three, basically. So sacrifice, austerity, and charity. Now, when you think of those three, all of them kind of require there's little pain involved. If you're going to give charity, it means you're going to give some of your hard-earned money. Austerity means undergoing some difficulty, either physical or some other way. And jagya, sacrifice, is very close to austerity. Some of the sacrifices require a lot of money or all the time or austerity. There's an interchange there. So all of those, when you think of that, they're all integrated into Krishna consciousness. Certainly Jagya, as Prabhupada points out, the Sankirtan Jagya. Now, it's such a wonderful Jagya that when you get into it, it's hardly a Jagya at all. It's like, yeah, let's go out on Harinam, dancing and chanting. A little time, right? But what's the real basis of this Jagya? Your faith. Lord Nityananda opened the marketplace of the holy name. Marketplace means you're buying and selling. He's selling the name for the price of your faith. You don't have any faith, you won't get it. Holy name, chanting, what is this? You guys are crazy, right? The faith has to be there. But otherwise, it's very easy sacrifice and joyful sacrifice. But it's the sacrifice of the age, and Prabhupada refers to that here, of course, yes, he cites the verse, the famous verse, although he doesn't give the Sanskrit. Krishna Varnam, Trisha Krishnam, Sangopangastra Parshadam, Yagyar, Sankirtana Praya, Yajantihi Sumedasa. The key is Sumedasa. To get into it means you got to be intelligent, very intelligent. If you are, then you'll worship the Yuga avatar, the incarnation for this age. Who is that? He describes Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam. So Krishna Varna means two things. This verse has been really commentated, so there's a lot of meaning brought out of it. So Krishna Varnam can mean, he belongs to the Varna of Krishna, the class or the category of Krishna. In other words, he's Krishna himself. But another one is Varna is syllable. He's always chanting Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So we're trying to figure out, who meets the criteria, right? Krishna Varnam, then Trisha Akrishnam. His complexion, Trisha, is not blackish like the original Krishna, means he's golden. So you have the golden avatar who's always chanting Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. I wonder who that could be, right? So So then, the sa-anga, upa-anga, astra-parshadam, that's the second line. So the words, you have to take it apart. So he comes with his limbs. His limbs are his most intimate associates, like Advaita, Nityananda, Gadadhara, Srivas. This is the Panchatattva. And his upa-angas were a little bit less intimate than them, but they're still very close. And that's his, read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the circle of devotees who are right there in Navadvip. I don't know if it includes his mother and father, but the close. Parshadas means the other associates with whom he performed Sankirtan and preached, and danced in front of Jagannath. These are all Sangopangasta Parshadam. What is he doing? He's also performing. He's showing how to perform the Sankirtan Yajna. Yajna Sankirtana Praya. Chiefly, not exclusively, but chiefly worshipped by the Sankirtan Yajna, by the congregational chanting. Yajanti, they will worship him, Sumeta, those who are truly intelligent in this age. So this verse is practically the basis of this whole movement. Is that, probably began with the chanting, and it's sustained by the chanting. I'll tell you, I read a letter, because I've been working on this book changes, debates we're going to have, and they had a whole compilation of instructions Prabhupada gave in his letters to about book production and editing and stuff like that. Well, one of them was one of the devotees who worked on the press, or maybe it was Ray Ram or something. It was one devotee said, "Oh, I know you're very busy, with the work, but you have to do at least two things. And chant your 16 rounds. You actually, the programs," he said, "if you can, this because this is an emergency, and you have to spend an hour on Harinam." Go out for an hour on Harinam. Where did we lose that one? He said, "This is essential. This is essential." It's a different world. It's a different world when we meet together and we go out as a group, and we feel, suddenly you realize the value of devotee association. You're chanting, you're preaching, you're seen as you're witnessing as a devotee, of people who, I was always loved to go out because I came from a demonstration mentality back in the 60s about the war, to go out and chant and the war. Anyway, so it never bothered me. But some people are afraid, oh no, maybe what if my boss comes, what if my boyfriend comes and sees me dancing? So people are afraid to go out. But the idea is it's big. Lord Chaitanya recognizes that jagya. Now, of course, book distribution is also part of that, is very heroic and important, essential. But Prabhupada was stressing at this time, because book distribution really hadn't taken off, the importance of preaching and witnessing and chanting together. So at least whenever there's kirtan here in the temple or out, Saturday or whenever, we should try to take advantage of that. Very important. So that Sankirtan Yajna, if actually practiced universally or by large, then that will produce an abundance of food. Now, one of the ways it does it is by changing the heart, rather than this demonic idea of using food to simply exploit people, designing through this demonic science, basically making food completely addictive. This one poor kid, he couldn't eat anything. He didn't want to eat anything except chips and some kind of Doritos or something like that. He was eating French fries and Doritos. That's all he ate. Poor guy lost his vision. He got very fat. Yeah, he lost his hearing. Some kid, just by eating those things. But that, this is what they do. You go to any supermarket, it's all, so much of it is just junk food, which is really disastrous. This is one of the great things about prasadam. Now, we don't eat processed food, prepare it fresh from good ingredients, offer it nicely. That produces, health as well as bhakti. So it's all about food. That's why we're dealing with it here. And the sacrifice has to be performed. And in the process of doing that, your material necessities will be taken care of. That's the idea, is that, yes, we have to do something in order to sustain our lives. But that can't be the whole mission of your life. to increase your material wealth and increase your sense gratification. That's a tragic waste of human life. So understanding the priorities of our life and integrating those activities that we need to perform for sustaining ourselves into bhakti, just as obviously food. We have to buy food, we have to get it, or grow it. But then we have to prepare it for Krishna in love and take prasadam, and that's a very important part of bhakti. It's not just what we do and then we do bhakti. That's part of it, And the earth will, I mean, if Krishna consciousness spreads, it probably one of the two, and he hopes it does, and worked so hard to make it happen. The world will be saved. He actually said that one time, that in history, America will go, that the Krishna consciousness will go down in history as the movement that saved the world in its direst straits, the most dangerous hour. So it's 8:30. I want to read a little bit about Lalita, unless there's some pressing question. I think it's pretty clear what's going on here. Oh, one thing the question arose, what is this Vatsa? Remember that? Vatsapati? It turned out to be the Vaishyas, because he's speaking to the king. You're the king of all of the Vaishyas, and what we're talking about is farmers and things. I looked it up. Okay, so I did prepare something here. Yes. Okay. What did I do? Recent. Okay. All right. So, back in, looks like 2005, I had a great opportunity early in the century to go to Vrindavan every year for about 4 or 5 years for the BBT, because we had a editors meeting there, so I would get. So in the course of doing that, there's this one very nice lady there named Prashanta. You probably know her. She runs the VIHE. And she knew about my chanting and everything, so she would invite me to go out and on an outing with them, with a group who wanted to go to different places in Vrindavan. So one time we went to Uchagawan, which is Lalita's appearance place. It must be nearby Varshan, no? Yeah. And so I knew about this Rupa Goswami's Ashtaka about Lalita. He wrote a beautiful poem, which I'm not going to read the Sanskrit. I'll give you one verse in Sanskrit. And so I, knowing I was going to go on this outing, I put it into some of my rudimentary verse. So I'd like to share that with you. The refrain line, which is it's such a beautiful line in Sanskrit here. Devim gunaisu lalitam lalitam namami. So Lalita means charming. And Lalita is the name of Radharani's most charming friend, so his name is Lalita. So he used to play it through Lalitam, Lalitam, very charming Lalita. To lovely Lalita, Shri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. So that's the refrain line. So I'll read this now, if you allow me. Lalita Pranam Stotra by Rupa Goswami. Radha Mukunda Padasambhava Gharma Bindu Nirmanchanopakadani Kutadeha Laksham Uttunga Saudada Vishesha Badat Pagalbham Devingunaisu Lalitam Lalitam Namami. She wipes away each drop of perspiration on the feet of Radha and Mukunda as they stage their lovers' fight. Imbued with deepest love, she cannot let Sri Krishna cheat Sri Radha, so she ridicules him to his great delight. To lovely Lalita, Sri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. The beauty of her face rebukes the full moon's golden glow, and when she's angry, that sweet beauty grows 100-fold. Her eyes resemble those belonging to a frightened doe. For expertise in decorating Radha, she's extolled. To lovely Lalita, Sri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. With wondrous colors of a dancing peacock's vivid plumes, her bodice, ornaments, and silken raiment brightly shine. The fair complexion of her graceful, charming limbs consumes the pride of gold Gorochana, the best of unguents fine. To lovely Lalita, Sri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. So a little note on Gorochana. Now you have to remember that cow dung and cow urine is very purifying. It's used on the altar. In fact, it's kind of medicinal even, I think, to some degree, So that's what this Gorochin is. When you take cow urine, you boil it down, and it comes down to a powder, and then you use that as tilak, and it's like the king of tilaks. It has a very wonderful golden shining hue. So her complexion is this Gorochina, complexion. But you didn't know that before. Okay. She said, "O Radha, listen carefully for your own good. With skill, rebuff advances from Rajendra's crafty son. O dear dishonored friend, if you're submissive, then you would assure he will assume your heart can easily be won. To lovely Lalita Shirada's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. In Braja's woods, when Radha and the son of Nanda meet, they wage a blissful gambling match, as all their friends look on. But when Sri Lalita sees Shyamasundar try to cheat, she floods him with her angry insults till his pride is gone. To lovely Lalita Shirada's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end." Okay. She is the dearmost object of Yashoda's boundless love. She teaches all her friends the arts of friendship for her lords, Sri Radha and Mukunda, whom she values far above her own life. O my friends, her glories far exceed my words. To lovely Lalita Sri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. She worked with all her friends to plan a daytime rendezvous of Radha and Mukunda in a lush Kadamba grove. And when she saw Shri Krishna block Sri Radha's path, she knew she'd suddenly achieved the precious goal for which she strove. To lovely Lalita Sri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. Of all Sri Radha's cherished friends, she is the favorite. Indeed, she's Anuradha. This is another name for her. Indeed, she's Anuradha, she who follows Radha best. When Radha and Mukunda meet for pastimes intimate, she sees their meeting as the greatest joyful nectar fest. To lovely Lalita, Sri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. A devotee who happily and purely sings this hymn, describing lovely Lalita's extraordinary traits, will win the favor of Sri Radha, who will welcome him with love into the circle of her close associates. To lovely Lalita, Sri Radha's bold and clever friend, obeisances I offer without end. Now that's a little probably above our pay grade to hear at this point, but since it's her appearance day, I thought it would be okay. And if anyone wants my poetry, just send me your email, and off it goes. And don't forget, if you happily and purely sing this hymn, then Radha will welcome you into her intimate associates. It's worth a try. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.